What if one simple practice could help you manage stress, feel more present, and give you more energy for both your business and your family? The good news? It's already within you. It's your breath. Today, I'm joined by Chinn, a breathwork facilitator and well-being coach who helps women, especially moms, tap into the power of their breath to navigate the chaos of motherhood and entrepreneurship with more ease and resilience. We talk about how breathwork can help regulate stress, boost emotional resilience, and even improve how we show up as parents and business owners. Grace shares simple, everyday techniques that any mompreneur can use to feel more grounded, even in the middle of toddler meltdowns or client deadlines. If you're constantly feeling overwhelmed, running on fumes, or just need a tool to help you reset during the day, this episode is for you. Hey, boss mama! Welcome to the show, empowering mompreneurs to thrive in business and motherhood. Let's get started. Hi, Grace. Thank you for joining me on the Hey Boss Mama podcast. I'm so happy to have you here, and I can't wait to hear about your journey. And from your accent, I know that you're from Scotland. Tell us how you came to Switzerland. What's your story?
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. And yes, it's a pleasure to be here today and talk a bit about the work I do. I landed in Switzerland by chance and because of love, because I met a Swiss guy in Australia a long time ago. And then we reconnected, about 9 years ago now, and basically got together quite quickly, and everything happened very fast after that. I moved to Switzerland when I realized what an amazing country it is. Started working here, and now we have 2 kids who are almost 5 and 18 months. We got married at some point along the way.
Oh, wonderful. I absolutely love this kind of love story that makes you move around the world. And so how did you get into breathwork? It's quite unusual.
Yeah, it is. And it was kind of one of these things that I didn't expect. So I did become self-employed when I had my first daughter, which was just at the tail end of 2019. I had my oldest daughter. And then I had decided in that moment I was done with my 9 to 6 plus overtime job, which wasn't fulfilling me. It was just not my thing. And I felt like a square peg in a round hole, or whatever the saying is. So I was like, right, now's the time. And I had a background in copywriting and translation. I'd done English teaching, and I'd also trained as a health coach. So at this point I was like, I've got a few things I can do. And I started doing various things when she was 6 months old. And I'm a trained health and wellness coach. And I started working with clients, and I was like, okay, there's something missing, because we're like, it's all in the mind. And I was like, I need to get into the body. Yoga had been part of my life for a very, very long time, but I'd kind of ignored the breath. And I'd always been like, no, I'm doing yoga for the big movements and the flexibility and the strength. And then when I became a mother, and 2020, it was a mad time. My husband is a nurse. He was on the front line working in ICU. For many of us, it was an incredibly difficult time. And then coinciding that with motherhood, it was just like, wow. And I had no time. I was like overstimulated, overwhelmed, no village around me like at all. And so I didn't have time for all my yoga practices, all my journaling, all my things I'd done before, but the breath was something that felt accessible at that moment. And I was like, I can take a few breaths. I feel all these things. It all feels too much. I haven't slept. And the breath just felt like a supportive thing that was feasible. And it just went from there. So these 2 elements of like looking for something with my coaching and also the breath, it kind of came all around the same time. And then I started with, you've probably heard of like Wim Hof, like this cold water exposure guy.
Yes, the guy who does the ice bath, right?
Yeah, like also the winter of 2020, 2021, I started really getting into cold water swimming in the lake, the breathing thing. It was pretty hard, but it was amazing for my mental health and all these things. And so got into that breathing technique, and then just went kind of way deeper when I started doing this transformative breathwork style, which is called conscious connected breathwork. And it just snowballed from there. And very quickly, I was like, I need to train in this right now. I don't have the time. It is like mad that I'm thinking of doing this, but it just spoke to me so much on so many levels, personally and professionally. So yeah, I just dove in.
I love how you said you were working mostly with the mind and you wanted to connect the body, because my mother is a psychotherapist, and one of the tools that she teaches her patients, it's right away to use breathwork in order to connect, because sometimes we're too much in our heads. And just doing that, it automatically behaves in a way where your mind is relaxed in some way, but you do the work with the body, with the physical aspect.
and that influences each other, right?
Absolutely. And it's that mind body connection. You can almost think of it as one thing, right? But often many of us, I know myself, my default is in the mind. So I share this practice, but I need this practice too. And I think what's interesting about the psychotherapy piece is actually a lot of breathwork facilitators are also therapists as well. For example, I'm not, but they do come to breathwork because they're like, I need something that gets my clients connected to their bodies. So yeah,
Yeah,
thank you for sharing
yeah,
that.
exactly. And so what kind of breath work is that, and what's special about it?
Yeah, so I would say, like, to explain it in really simple terms, I mean, there are many types of breath work, but the two types that I share are what I think of as kind of regulating everyday breathwork practices, which many of us might be familiar with if we've done yoga, maybe we've done just kind of these slow breathing practices, or if we've done preparation for childbirth, for example, hypnobirthing, you do like extended exhales, things that really slow you down. And these are super beneficial. And that's why I share them with mothers, like for those moments of stress, in the moment, you just need a way to calm down right now, just even like 5%, so that you can deal with whatever's happening, the tantrum or whatever stress is happening. So that's one side of it, is like the slowing down thing, accessing the parasympathetic branch of the nervous system. You're doing these breathing low in the body, breathing slow, breathing through the nose, that kind of stuff. But on the other side, there's also this more transformative style. Conscious connected breathwork is one of these, and that's the one that I share and I practice. And it's something that takes longer than just a few minutes. Sessions I lead are like an hour or an hour and a half, and it's guided with music in the background, which really supports your experience. And it's an activating breath. So we are actually breathing normally with an open mouth, but it can be done through the nose as well. And it's a connected breath. And that means you're not pausing between your inhales and exhales. And that really helps you to connect more deeply within, because you are activating also the sympathetic branch of the nervous system, which is this one that comes online or alive when you are kind of under stress or feeling a little bit activated in life. But in our day-to-day lives, we don't allow ourselves to really feel our emotions. Things can pop up, like we can feel like angry, frustrated, or whatever in the moment, but maybe it's not convenient to feel it. So we just kind of push it down. And by breathing in this way, and I'm holding the space for you to be able to allow yourself to feel everything. So you are more able to deeply drop into the body and just really be with whatever is there physically, emotionally, and also mentally.
So it's really about feeling the emotions that are causing us anxiety and stress. And sometimes we might feel it in our shoulders or like cramping in our stomach. Is that the type of breath work that you're doing?
So conscious connected breathwork is more like actually getting more to the root of like why we're feeling stressed in the first place. You can actually peel back the layers and you can reveal stuff that maybe you haven't had access to or haven't been able to give the space to speak. Like I say, for me personally, anger and frustration is something that's come up a lot in my mothering journey. And it's like something that means I'm maybe reacting in ways I don't want to. But when I give myself that space in a conscious connected breathwork session, I can allow myself to gently let those emotions come and just explore that and see what thoughts are connected to that, what patterns, what beliefs. And it can just be kind of an unwinding, an untangling of what is really holding us back in some way. And you can release and make some space.
I haven't had a lot of opportunities to do breath work, but I had a really nice experience when I was at Burning Man. And it was something where we had to breathe with our mouth and follow a certain rhythm, and then your entire body starts tingling. I just thought it was so amazing how I wasn't expecting the breathing to have this kind of whole body effect like that. It was really quite special. Is this something that always happens when we're doing breath work, or does it depend on the type of breath work exercises that we're doing?
Yeah, it does sound like you were doing like a similar style. You said you moved with rhythms of movement, right?
Yeah, we had to follow the teacher who was going for a certain rhythm, and I think it was accelerating at some point. I remember my hands tingling, and then all the way up to my head. My forehead was tingling too. It was really special.
Yeah, I mean, it is similar then. Yeah, in the practice that I share, we don't give you the rhythm. It is similar in terms of the sensation. So you can feel a lot of things physically because you're bringing in more air, which is really life force energy, and that can go anywhere in the body and it kind of lights you up with energy. And so that's why you can just feel like more aliveness. And that can feel amazing, especially if we're in our minds a lot and we're like feeling a bit disconnected to our bodies. That can actually just be like really empowering to be like, oh yeah, I'm like embodied. I'm here in a physical sense as well.
What if we don't have 30 minutes to dedicate to breathwork, but we're really tense and we just need a way to move on with our day? Is there any kind of exercise that you can recommend?
A key one would be, as you're going about your day, as much as possible, you should be trying to breathe low, slow, and through the nose. So letting your lower belly rise and fall with the breath, not breathing high with the chest and the shoulders, keeping it as slow as feels comfortable. So when you try to get into the habit of, okay, every time you make a cup of tea or coffee, it's like, how am I breathing? And then just be like, okay, I'm going to switch to that low, slow, and through the nose. And in moments of more acute stress, if you're like, oh my gosh, like my kid is screaming and I just need to calm down, try to extend your exhale, or the best ones are like humming or like buzzing on the exhale, because you have that vibration, which can really help to soothe the nervous system. Just inhaling for like a count of 4 through the nose and then like humming or buzzing like a bee on the exhale for as long as you can.
The technique I like as well, you breathe in very slowly, very deeply until you feel full with air. You hold for a few seconds. You empty slowly and deeply. You hold for a few seconds, and you do that like 3-4 times. Makes you like stop and take notice of where you're at. And then just the effect of the air and the exercise itself, it relaxes you in a way. And you're able to just be a little bit more clear and less irritated if it's an irritated situation like with screams and stuff.
That's the thing about breathwork. It's this saying, which I think just says it perfectly. It's change how you breathe, change how you feel. And that is so empowering because our nervous system is automatic. We breathe and we sweat and we change our temperatures without thinking about it. Like our body just takes over, but your breath enables you to take some control. So when you're about to go into an important meeting and you're like sweating and you're getting red and your like heart rate is racing, you can help to kind of turn that down a little bit by breathing. That's really empowering.
That's really cool. And so with the work that you're doing with your clients, like you're teaching classes and giving also online courses, right?
Yeah, so I do a lot of work one-on-one. That can be very powerful because it's very like personalized. I usually lead a meditation at the beginning before we get into the breathwork practice and also the playlist. But there is also a lot of power in the group experience. And I did like a course a couple of times this year, which was like a 5-week group thing. So we're using conscious connected breathwork and also some group stuff as well. So in Lausanne, I've got a couple of things coming up over the next month.
And when you started your business, your first daughter was just a tiny baby, right? How did you create the time? Did you have certain challenges that you had to overcome?
Oh yeah, I think it's been more challenges than I can count. But it was just this desire to like, oh my gosh, I cannot keep doing the work I was doing before. I was in project management. That was just not my thing. And she was 6 months old. We didn't have childcare for the first few months. I worked around my husband's shifts and her nap times at that age. And then we added childcare bit by bit as I had more work. But it's really been so up and down because then she's 18 months old. Then I had another pregnancy. There's been a lot of stops and starts. And the childcare situation has been a huge challenge, I would say. I feel like there's been points when I've had too much childcare, not enough work. Then I've had too much work, not enough childcare. I really don't believe that balance exists. I think whatever you do for work, or whether you work out of the home or not, when you have young children, it's very, very hard to have things feel really balanced. Like I had a good amount of work time, family time, me time. I just thought this part of my life is going to just be madness anyway. So working for myself is just like one more thing. But yeah, there's been a lot of challenges.
Just figuring out already the childcare part, it's already a big piece of the puzzle. My son just turned 1 a few weeks ago. And before that, I just didn't want anyone outside of the family to take care of him. And that meant that it also was a big constraint for my work. But I was okay with that because his first year is going to happen only once. We're able to afford it, that I'm working less and being more present at home. And as you know, in Switzerland anyways, childcare is so expensive that if I took a job or if I worked full time, most of that would have gone towards childcare. Now that he's turned 1, it's a different story because I also feel that the urge, like I also need more time for my business, for myself and all of that. But until now, I just felt like I have to give myself more flexibility. I have to be okay with things having a slower pace because it's impossible to do it all. It's not realistic. We have that idea that we're going to be developing our business while taking care of our kids. And yes, it's possible, but it's not going to be 100% compatible all the time. And finding how that works, it's very personal too. It's not going to be the same formula for everyone. I love that we're able to have those options. I think that's why a lot of women are making the decision to start their own business today.
Oh, definitely. And especially in Switzerland, you've talked about the price of childcare, which is a whole other podcast, I guess. The maternity leave, for me, as I come from the UK, it's like people take 9 months to a year paid maternity leave. And so when I found out it was like 14 weeks, I was like, oh, wow. And I was breastfeeding round the clock until my daughter was well older than that. So she just was feeding all the time. And so I cannot see how it would have been possible, but I understand that so many people, they do have to do that. So it must be like you get out of the hospital or wherever you gave birth and you immediately have to start preparing to go back to work. It does seem like things are so rigid here and not made for young families.
Yeah, definitely. One of the things I wasn't expecting is the sheer amount of exhaustion. There's only so much that we can do already, but if we're not able to think straight, it's just nearly impossible. And here too, I feel like breathwork is a good kind of tool because when we're exhausted, it helps us to just recenter a little bit and find a little bit of energy. It's not going to be like a cup of coffee, but it helps us to just feel better.
Exactly. And coming back to that, change the way you breathe, change the way you feel. However you're feeling in the moment, just taking a few breaths can really shift things, even if it's by 1%. And that does add up. And I think there's so much power in it. If you can start your day with 5 minutes of breath work, great.
Hey, mama.
When it comes
if you're
to
a mompreneur
the way
on
that
a
you
mission,
organize
but you
your
feel
work
like
now,
you're running in
how has
circles,
that
listen
evolved?
up.
Yes, I love
The
that
Hey
question.
Boss
I feel
Mama
like I'm
Mastermind
talking about
is
this all
the
the
place
time
to
because
be.
it's one of the things
It's
that's
where
most
ambitious
present for
moms
me.
like you
So
come
my
together
oldest
to
daughter just
set
started
goals,
school
share
a few weeks ago.
strategies,
Congrats,
and
thank
cheer
you.
each other on.
So
Imagine
that
walking
means we
away
have
with a
3.5
clear
days
plan,
of care for her.
real
And
accountability,
that's what I used
in
to
a
have
tribe
with her
that
in
gets
the
it.
nursery
This
before
is your
my
chance to
second
invest
daughter
in
was
you
born, and it
and
felt
your
like
business.
amazing and expansive.
Don't
So I did
wait.
3 days of work.
Join us
and then I
now
had
at
a half day just for me, which was
heybossmama.com/mastermind.
brilliant. But
I can't wait to see your
my
thrive.
youngest daughter, it's kind of, we're making it up. So she has kind of a few mornings at maman jour. Now we're starting at a crèche, like a morning and an afternoon. So I don't quite have as much time as I need. I'm a breathwork facilitator, but I'm also a freelance copywriter. I do have quite a lot of work at the moment, and I have more work than childcare. So I do also rely on my husband's shifts. He's a nurse, as I said. So every week for him, his shifts are different. So we literally just have to look at each week and be like, okay, so you're off that day, I'm going to work the afternoon. Yeah, we just do it like that. But it also means he works nights and weekends. So I know that I really have to find some time for myself because I could be guilty of using every moment I can to work. And then I'm with the girls on my own all weekend. And then I'm right back in. And okay, well, where's your downtime, Grace? So again, like things like breath work really come in handy here.
Yeah. So you have to be really flexible in order to make it work.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And there's always a curveball. Like there's always like someone gets sick.
So in order to get that juggling going, do you have certain systems that you've put in place to organize everything?
Gosh, I would love that. That is what I need. No, that's the thing is I'm always saying as well, is like I absolutely do not have everything figured out. Like it does feel messy. It feels a little bit less messy all the time, but I'm like 4.5 years into like motherhood and like working. And I think I'm finally getting there, right? But I don't have incredibly good systems. I would love to have like Mondays I do this, Tuesdays I do that. I'm not there yet, but that is what I think I need next. Yeah, for sure. So no, it's more like using a planner, a paper planner, time blocking, that kind of thing.
When it comes to breath work, do you have examples of transformation that you've seen in the people you've worked with?
Yes. There's a client I've been working with for a few years now, and she actually has had a journey of much more self-acceptance throughout the journey. She has moved through quite a lot in her journey as a mum and also on a personal level. And it has been a tool that she's been able to come to and really just leave everything aside, all the things that she's holding, and really just have that connection within and kind of work out what is true for her and what is hers and what is not hers, what is important. And so it's been kind of this really powerful, like internal listening tool when her world has been, let's say, very hectic and a lot of things changing and happening in her outer world. So I would say it's like a stable and calm place for her to go to. And that connection has only built over time. So that's great.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So it sounds like it's one of the tools that's helped her become more resilient in a way.
Yes, absolutely. Allowing yourself to feel and also process anything difficult that you might have gone through. It's like a very interesting tool to be able to increase your resilience and emotional capacity to meet the stresses of life.
definitely something that we need more than we realize, because once we're able to be conscious and get it through us and not just bottle it up, right? We get to feel those emotions and then just feel better.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's beautiful is it's been so incredible in helping me to parent in a way that feels really aligned and aligned to my values and parenting more. I'm absolutely not a perfect parent at all, but no one is. But like, I'm like also able to hold space for my daughter's big emotions, encourage her to feel and that it's okay to feel. I think many of us might have had experiences when we were younger where you're really sensitive, your feelings are too big. And actually, it's really made me aware of how important it is to let my daughters like have these big expressive emotions, even in public. I've got used to that now.
That's really cool. Then how do you use that with her?
With my oldest daughter, so she's almost 5. And since she's about 2.5, I've been inviting her to breathe when she's having a tantrum. And at first, obviously, that didn't work. She was like, no. But then, yeah, when she was 3.5, so just after her sister had been born, all of a sudden it works. And she just like took the kind of, I was gonna say the bait, but she just like was like, okay. And she was into it. And so she would be like, I want to take a breath after maybe having a big tantrum for 20 minutes or whatever. And then it's her way of saying, I'm ready for connection. And now she guides me in the practices as well. And there's this one which you can do, it's called candle and flower breath, which she loves. And it's like, you imagine a candle, you imagine a flower, the color, and then you inhale smelling with your nose the flower, and then you exhale blowing out the candle. So it's super nice for kids who are 3 and up, I would say.
Yeah, that's really cool that when you're learning the practice, it's also something that you can teach to your kids and give them that tool that they can bring with them everywhere they go, whether they're at school and they're having a hard time or focusing for their homework or whatever. It's something that becomes so personal, right?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I think it's a tool that just keeps on giving. When we do it for ourselves, there's a ripple effect on our family because we're more calm, grounded, regulated ourselves, and also sharing the practices with our families. Like, yeah, both are
It's
great.
really cool. I have one last question for you. In a few years, and your daughters are a little older, what wish they would say about you?
Oh my goodness. That's a very good question. What do I wish my daughters would say about me? I think I'd want to say my mum was really present with us. And I know that sounds so cheesy, but like, you know, when we were doing stuff together, she was there with us. She was like not on her phone.
I love it. That's also why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I want to be able to be present when I'm spending time with my kid. I don't want to be thinking about every other stresses or work or whatever. And it's not easy. I work with marketing and social media, and a lot of my clients are texting me all the time. I have to be able to put that separation. And if he feels that I'm present and I'm not on the phone and there's that reflex picking it up all the time, I'm definitely working on not doing that. And if being present is what my kid would remember, I would love that. So I love your answer.
Yeah. And I think it's such a like presence is to be able to be present. There's so much that goes behind that. It's like we have to make time for ourselves. We have to feel some kind of fulfillment in our lives.
Yeah, completely. And even for ourselves, being able to be present with them, we get more of the experience of motherhood when we're present, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So Grace, tell us where everyone connect with you, get to know more about the work that you do.
Yeah, so my Instagram handle is at grace.chinn and my website, gracechinn.com. I share some blog posts. I have a free download of 6 short everyday breathwork practices. I'd invite you to get started with breathwork in that way.
Very cool. We'll have all the links in the show notes as well. And I'm going to go and practice my breathwork.
Amazing. Enjoy.
I loved this conversation with Grace, and I hope it reminded you that even in the busiest seasons of life, there are small but powerful ways to reclaim your energy. Breathwork isn't just another wellness trend. It's a tool you can use anytime, anywhere, to feel more in control and present in both your business and motherhood. I challenge you to try one of Grace's simple breathwork exercises today. Maybe during your morning coffee, before a big work task, or when your little one is having a tough moment. Let me know how it goes. And if you're craving more support as a mompreneur, join our Hey Boss Mama community. Inside, we talk about how to juggle business, motherhood, and everything in between. The link to our Facebook group and show notes are in the description. Until next time, Boss Mama, you've got this.